I feel like I'm like totally naked in front of
I
you.
know.
I feel like
It's pretty vulnerable.
but in a good way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. We have become so habitualized to living B+ lives.
I mean, I think I was living a B+ life, and I didn't realize it because there were so many aspects of it that from the outside looked like an A or an A+ life.
You would have been around 45, and one day you would have found yourself in your car crying uncontrollably, and you would have said, "What have I done?" Sometimes the outside world is the one confirming to us our life is perfect, and we know inside, and we've got like this kind of. We know how much we are actually living the life we want. We know because when we're living it, we feel exquisitely alive. And so it usually is a crisis where people are fired or go through a divorce or have a breakup of some kind. And they'll say, wait, okay, I can't take it anymore. Look, there's 4 things that destroy you living your own life. I call them the 4 Horsemen of Dream Destruction. But it captures these things. It captures self-care, recreation, pleasure, and sex.
Suzy, welcome to Tiger Sisters.
So happy to be here.
We're so excited. So Suzy Welch has lived a dozen chapters. Editor-in-chief of Harvard Business Review, best-selling author, professor at NYU Stern, and podcast host. Her hit course and new book, Becoming You, have become a movement, pushing people to face the hardest question there is. Are you really living your own life or living through someone else's script?
May I say that Becoming You, the question it actually answers is, what should I do with my life? Which it leads you to ask, is the life I have right now the life I want? So it's all the really easy, fun questions.
Yeah, just
right?
a little thing.
Light,
Just
day
a
of
little
picnic kind of
conversation.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more.
Okay.
So Dr. Suzy Welch, yes, that's right, doctor, has spent her entire career cutting through the myths about money, power, and love to help people live their lives with purpose. And also we've been playing it cool since the beginning, but we're truly fans of yours. Like
Okay.
really,
We love
like,
everything
really,
you
Okay,
do.
all right, thank you
like
very
we think
much.
you're so fabulous and we want to be you. And I
Okay.
also want to get my PhD. And I'm so like, there's just so much.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Well, it's a
we'll save
mutual
it, we'll
fan
save it.
club right
Yeah.
here. All right.
Yeah.
Big love in.
And so in Becoming You, you introduce the value bridge, and it's a framework that you've developed that helps you figure out who we are and what we want to do. And so we've shared our values bridge results with you.
Yes.
We've taken the test. And please be honest, what is wrong with us? And what is something you understand
And
about
what
us?
is right with
Right, I
us.
know. I can't wait to do this. I mean, you have very exciting results, very interesting. I was a little taken aback by your results, and so we will go deep dive into them. So the class I teach, Becoming You, excavates 3 data sets: your values, your aptitudes, and your economically viable interests, because you need all of that data to synthesize and then come out with your purpose. In the class, in one semester, the waitlist was 800 students.
Wow.
And so it was, and
not
now I teach
Yeah.
it in mega sections.
Yeah.
Because if you can find for me the one person who doesn't ask the question, wait, what should I do with my life? Or is this the right thing? I don't know where that person is. So I put together a great team of engineers and psychometricians and developers, and we created this tool, the Values Bridge, which rank orders your values from 1 to 16. And it tells you which values you hold and how much you're living them.
Yeah.
So we call that gap the authenticity gap. And so what I have now in front of me is the list of your values from 1 to 16 and how much you're actually living them. I think that I was a little bit surprised by the difference in your values. So should we do it?
Yeah,
Okay,
let's
let's do it.
dive
Okay.
in.
And also just, I feel like I'm like totally naked in front of
I
you.
know.
I feel like
It's pretty vulnerable.
but in a good
It is.
way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. That there is this moment. And so you're wonderful to go ahead and do it here on the podcast.
Yeah.
But part of what you're doing yourselves is you're allowing people to be vulnerable and listening
Yes.
to you, and you talk about all the really big stuff. So it's not just young people who are going through it. I mean, there's people 40, 50 years old who are sitting there saying, whose life did I just live?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's
Into it.
okay, let's do
This
it.
is office hours,
It
actually.
is. It is. I'm psyched. I love it. All right, Cherie, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Okay. So your number one value is something that we call radius. And this is a value that reflects how much you want to change the world, how much you want to have systemic change. When I have in class students who present as what we would call social justice warriors, they always are number one on radius. I have a daughter who's an artist and an animal rights activist. She's number one on radius. And thank God the man that she's about to marry is also that, because if you have this value and you are marrying somebody who does not have it, I wish you well. because this is a very strongly presenting value. So there's something in you that seeks systemic change. You're not satisfied with things staying the way they are. You have a dream of in some way changing the world. Does that feel real to you?
It does. I've been called a dreamer, and actually there was a conflict. My boyfriend, when I was in my early 20s, we both worked at the same company, but we had different views on how to approach our life. Yes. I was like, I have such a big dream of things I want to do, and through my career create impact. And he's like, would you just be happy like living in the suburbs with just like a plain house and a dog? And there was so much derision in that comment, but I'm like, what's wrong with what I want to do?
And I hope you are not still with this person.
I'm not.
God is all I can say.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I said that this value is so strong in how it drives how we live and work that if you do not share it with a partner. So I should point out that the values bridge, the test itself, has a functionality that if another person takes it and you both check a box, your values will come up next to each other and it will give you a conflict or harmony score. So you and this young man would have had like 100% conflict on it. And I think when my daughter and her fiance took it, they're like, Mom, you're home. Come talk to us about our results. And as I was walking towards them, because the wedding's already planned, I was like, please, God, I am praying to you. And they had, thank God, their top 6 values were exactly the same.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I like almost wept from joy. Now look, I would have been shocked if they weren't. They're essentially the same human being. So, all right. So,
and I do think that her value of radius comes through very clearly actually in Tiger Sisters and is the core mission.
Yes.
Tiger Sisters, and a big reason why we're doing what we're doing is very much driven by her number one core value,
and
radius.
I want to say 2 things. One is, I think you're exactly right because you could have done anything. Yes. You could have been a product manager. There's a million jobs, and you took the job which had high risk, right? You did startup, but had the potential for the most impact. Now, radius is also a high value of yours. It's number 5. So that's still a core value of yours. It's still very high. It's not as high as your sisters, but luckily, because you're working together, I'm very happy that you both have radius high up. Okay. Sure. All right. So your second value is achievement, which is the desire to have success that other people can see. Now, really interestingly, this makes you different than many people of your generation because typically for people, how old are you?
I'm 30.
Okay. Gen Z, for instance, topping off at age 26. Achievement as a value is number 11. And so I have achievement as number 2 as well. And this is the desire to have accomplishments and success that other people can see. Either that's in you or it's not. And when I talk about achievement a lot of time with my Gen Z students, they're like, who needs that? And I'm like, I don't know, my whole generation did. I was like, but I think actually it skews at business schools quite high. I think business schools select for it. True. Let's see where achievement is for you. It's number 4. Okay, so you are both very high on achievement. And thus the name Tiger Sisters. So I'm very excited about that. So now we come to one of the most controversial talked about values. And this is a value that that I had to use a Greek name for because it sets people's heads on fire. So the value, we call it Eudaimonia. In Greek, it means flourishing. But it captures these things. It captures self-care, recreation, pleasure, and sex. Okay, so pick from any of those. They all track together, and you have it as number 3. So for core value for you, there is this desire for, I don't know if it's self-care or if it's fun or recreation or which one of those parts it is. Does that resonate for you?
It does.
Yeah.
And I saw that it's in conflict with my desire to achieve.
And to have affluence, which comes next. So let's see where eudaimonia is for you. Now, actually, I will say that your eudaimonia was lower. It was at 8 in the middle. And for me, it's number 15. So and I'll tell you this about one of the beautiful things, in my opinion, about the values bridge is it allows us to talk about people's values without any judgment. You know, these are values and you can be higher on them or lower on them and they're choices with consequences. And so when I tell people like, well, eudaimonia is number 15 for me, it's like, oh, what's wrong with you? And I was like, well, my joy is in my work and my achievement. And so I don't necessarily want to, I don't even know what self-care is. Of course, generationally, that's maybe my self-care is in my dogs. The amount of fun I have with my dogs.
I think it is also a generational reflection of us because I think her generation, she's on the cusp of Gen Z. Yeah. She's a zillennial. They're all about self-care and they're work-life balance is really important versus I feel like I went up through the, investment banking, finance world where it was you have to put like those things on the wayside in order to actually be successful at achievement or all those other things.
You've done this
same
calculus, right? Which is, look, my students and many people take the values bridge and they get as top value eudaimonia, and then right after it they get affluence or achievement, and then they're like, oh, that's the reason for the feeling, because those are in conflict with each other.
Yeah.
And so you definitely look. The test is going to tell you where you've got your conflicts and your harmonies. Eudaimonia for you is 3. It's not number 1, and for you, it's 8. Then we have affluence, which is the desire to have wealth. And I think again, there's a little stink off of this in the world, right? But why? This is a choice. And if you're not hurting anybody, it's your value. I mean, I have plenty of students who have it as number 1, and it's high for me as well. And I think there's no harm in it. Sometimes people want affluence because they it feeds another value.
Yeah.
Like beholderism, which we're about to come to, because that was your number 1 value, and we'll talk about it in a second. You both have affluence in the top 5. And then we have, for you, Cherie, voice, which is the desire for authentic self-expression. It's like I want to be me. I want to self-express. I don't want to be in a culture or an environment where I can't let my whole self be present. And again, this is for Gen Z, the number 2 value. So for you, voice is, it's down at 10, which suggests to me that you have more comfort around fitting in to organizational cultures and to leaving some of your authentic self-expression not aside, but to your private time. Like you don't feel the need. People who have high voice want to be themselves all the time. And people with lower voice are like, look, there's a time where I can be myself, and it's when I'm at home.
I feel like I've had to do that my whole life in order to succeed, in order to get where I am now, versus like Cherie, ever since she was very, very young, she was always like a superstar.
Yeah.
Like she's always been, even among
Supported.
She's like the younger sister. She's the youngest cousin. She was always the superstar. Like, I don't know how else to say it. She has star power. And like, it was always, she always expressed her voice.
That's right.
It was very much appreciated and loved. And I think,
Well, there's the interesting comment, because what I often see, especially with young women up until sort of the 40s, is they can have quite high voice, but their authenticity gap is massive. So they can have voice as number 1 and the authenticity gap is 98%, meaning they want to do it and they can't. And I had a student come to me one time just crying, saying, look at this. And she showed me her results, and voice was number 1, authenticity gap like 98, 99%. And she said, I wish you could teach a class about how we can do this, how we can be ourselves. I don't even know how to do it. My culture has taken this ability away from me. And I said, I love the idea of a class on that. I can't teach that. That's not my area of expertise, but I'm cheering you on.
Well, I think so much of it is environmental too. And so when you say culture, like my first thought was like work culture. Yeah. Like the work culture that Jean grew up in was basically, as she explained, like it was pretty much to stifle yourself for the bottom line.
Yes.
Whereas we're like, growing up, being raised in like a tech company as my first job, it was very much like be yourself.
That's right.
And we also had like 1 day off a month for eudaimonia.
Right.
To like, explore something about yourself outside of work.
People who have very high achievement, very high affluence go into investment banking, and they have voice very low and they don't care. Yeah. If you have very high voice, Goldman Sachs is going to be a different kind of fit for you.
True.
Yeah. And so this is one. So there's many, many good reasons to know your values. One is to have this very candid conversation with yourself about whether you're living them, and if not, whose values you are living. And then the second reason is to say, am I working in the right place? Am I going to last here? Because if you have a mismatch on values with your organization, you just go to work every day in a suit that's 3 sizes too small, and it stinks. Well, let's talk about beauty for a second, because it's your top value.
It's her top value, and she's embarrassed by it.
Yes, I always know. Here's what I say.
Okay, I just feel like I have to explain it.
No, let's talk about it for a second. First of all, a lot of people have this value. It's one of the oldest identified values by scholars. We call it beholderism. It is the value that reflects how much you care about how things look, including yourself. I always say that when people find out that this is their top value, that they need to go into support group. Okay, and so many, I've done this work with many influencers, because my life brings me into contact with a lot of influencers. For almost every influencer, it's the top value. And I'm not surprised, because there's something very visual about being an influencer, that how things look and sound. I will say that to go deeper than that, beholderism is often a proxy for desiring harmony. Okay, you want things to look beautiful. And my feeling about that is there's not very much we can control in this world. Not very much we can control, but we can control our environment and we can control ourselves. And I often think that's reflected in high beholderism. Now, I don't know where your beholderism is coming from.
I think that's so true.
You look beautiful, so that's part of it. But this desire that things should have a certain harmony, that the world just works better when things are, elevated. I mean, there used to be a store in New York that sort of just beautiful interior designs. And I used to call it the Palace of Want, because I walked in there, I was like, I want everything. I want my house to look like this. And then when my test scores came back and beholderism was 4 for me, I was like, yeah, I know. I'm the daughter of an architect and an artist. My home is my palette. It's like I paint on, my canvas is my home. And so beholderism tends to skew either you have it very high or you have it very low.
I think in some ways it's actually very much of a relief to be able to like put a word to it, a name to it, because there's just so many things about me, like, growing up in middle school, I would borrow like dozens of books about interior design.
Yeah, okay.
Like when I was like 12 years old,
Right.
and just nonstop read all these books about interior design. And I was like a freak of a 12-year-old. Like who does that?
I did that.
Yeah.
I did that. Well, first of all, my dad was an architect, so we had tons of books around the house. But when Architectural Digest would come, I would like go through the pages like a zombie, like obsessed.
Yeah.
And my homes are really curated, very specifically to me, but I really care. And if I walk into the room and like the flowers are a color that's not vibing the rest of the room, I will carry them into the kitchen saying, this is upsetting me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really, this is your beholderism. It's, and the great thing is like just celebrate it. So many cool people have beholderism very high. So it's not, and again, no value is good or bad. It's just you.
Yeah.
But it's very good to be able to explain to people, I have super high beholderism. Just bear with me while I sort of change this place setting, right?
Yeah. And I think it's kind of, I've always loved art growing up. I love like all different expressions of art. I think it's, I really, really just like deeply appreciate the sublime.
Yes.
And
that's exactly it.
I don't know how else to explain it. Like back when, you could see all the runway shows for free on Vogue.com. Like I would, every fashion season, I would like pour through all of the runway shows, and like look at them one by one and just form my own opinions. And it like that was my happy place.
Can I just say, I want to give you some gratuitous advice, which is that the next time you get serious with somebody, give him the test. Make sure his beholderism is up there like yours, because I think it gets really hard in a relationship when one person has high beholderism and the other just doesn't get it.
Yes.
It's because it bumps into everything. It sort of bumps into where you choose going to a restaurant. It bumps into like what your house looks like. It bumps into like where you vacation.
Yes,
it just bumps into everything. So check out that.
Okay,
check out Belovedness and check out Beholderism.
Okay, that is so crazy, because even before I took this test, I said something to Cherie the other day about this, where I was like, oh yeah, like, I've been on a couple dates with this guy. I was like, I just don't know if he really like appreciates some of the things that I appreciate.
Like if I look nice, like will he even appreciate that? Like what's the point if he doesn't appriciate me looking nice?
No, I secretly think I developed a dating app by accident. I mean, I was like, I think, oops. But I mean, I think that like I said to you about my daughter and her soon-to-be husband in 2 weeks, that their top 6 values were identical, and they are weirdly like happy because they just everything. He was reminiscing about the first time he met her. And he went back to the office after they had lunch for the first time. And he said to the people he's working with, I don't know what just happened. And it's like when you meet somebody who's got your exact values, you have this feeling like, what just happened? But you sort of saying, if I even elevated my beholderism and sort of showed my beholderism, would even care is a bit of a red flag.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, he's like the worst guest we ever had on.
No, the best. The best. Well, let's see. We'll put this to the test.
Well, I think it's interesting, Suzy, what you said about control.
Yeah,
because I think
that's true.
I mean, of course, you love art and beauty, and you love flipping through those, magazines. But I think there's something to be said about control.
Yes,
like having some sort of control over your own life, your environment. When in this world, like what can you really control?
That's right. I think beholderism for people is absolutely a way to make order of a world that can feel very chaotic.
Yeah.
And
especially,
but sometimes it's just loving beautiful things. I don't want to, like sometimes, it's just because you love beauty, and it's okay to love beauty.
I think it's both for you.
Yeah.
All right. So those are your top values. Let's just talk briefly about your bottom 2 values, because sometimes those tell us a lot of things also. Okay. So your your lowest value is something we call belonging, which is sort of it's like kind of community. It's clubs. It's hanging with friends. It's just wanting to be part of affinity groups. And so oftentimes people with high voice, as you have low belonging. And so, or does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I think so. It's just I don't really believe in like groups
Yes.
or like group dynamics. I'm like much more like deep one-on-one relationships with people.
Right.
And
So this is 100% tracks with what you're saying. Your second to bottom one is place, meaning if it's a low value, it means you could live anywhere, that you're not, okay, I have to live in this one city. Like for me, place is very high because when I leave New York City, I hyperventilate and feel like I must get right back. And so I love to travel, but I'm like, no, it's not New York. And that gives me very high place. And so it sounds to me like with this value that you're fine with where you're living, but you're not like, it does not have to be one place.
I think so, especially recently with so much moving, like leaving Palo Alto, coming to LA.
Yes.
I think I'm in a time in my life where place will not rank high.
Yes. I'm looking right now, I'm looking where your belovedness is. So let's talk about the value of belovedness before we look at your values. And so belovedness is a very interesting value because it reflects how much you want to be in an intimate partnered relationship. And it's very interesting to hear the cultural narrative about how much you should want marriage in a way. I mean, I think this is about a relationship that is marriage or like marriage. And women like us have gone through professional schools and we've been told it's the career. And and that's fine. And it's true for many of us. But oftentimes there are women who do not feel able to say, but I also really want to get married.
Yeah.
And it shows up in their results.
Yeah.
It shows up and they come in and they've been like go bossing it. And then belovedness pops it, number one, and there's a 98% gap.
Wow.
So for you, if you don't mind me saying, your belovedness is at 8, which sort of puts it in the middle. Like you might want a partnered relationship, but it's not your driving, organizing principle. You're not choosing your job or your location or your weekend activities on finding this partner that you're a partner for your life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sound true?
I think that's right.
Okay.
Where I am in this state in life.
Shall we see where belovedness is?
Yeah.
For you? Okay. And the answer is 11. Pretty low. So yeah, let's hear. What are your thoughts on your belovedness? Not
so
being
my
higher
thoughts
or lower.
are that I am surprised because I consider myself to be like a very romantic person. And I love the idea of romance. I love being in romance. I love being in partner relationships. I think that it's low now because I recently broke my engagement about a year ago with someone that I was together for 8 years.
Okay.
So I think it's more of like a snapshot in time.
This is exactly why.
Yeah.
So for me, belovedness was very high, and then my husband died, and it went to it's number 16 for me now. And I think when you've been through a seismic event involving love, belovedness will shift.
Yeah.
And you have deprioritized it because of what was certainly in some level a traumatic event for you.
Yes.
And so I would not be surprised if we were to revisit with each other in 6 months or a year that it would move back up.
Yeah, and I think it's also a response to, I feel like in the past over, the course of that 8-year relationship, it was very high in my values. And I think maybe I was like overweighting it.
I think it might have been overexpressed.
Yeah.
Right. And it may be one of the reasons, I don't want to go, get too personal, but
No,
it may
yeah,
have been
let's do it.
overexpressing it was part of why the engagement ended up breaking.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you had to guess, while you were in that relationship, belovedness was maybe 1 or 2, probably overexpressed by quite a lot. Can you, in your mind's eye, imagine what your partner's belovedness was?
Definitely not as high.
Yeah.
Because he's a much more like even keeled. He's just not naturally like a romantic person. He's just like very even keeled, like not very expressive at all in terms of emotions.
I think like radius, belovedness with your partner should be about the same level. So if you both have belovedness in the top 5, fantastic. If you have it in the bottom 5, also fantastic, because you both are going to prioritize the relationships the same amount. But woe to the couple where the one person has belovedness in the top and the other has it in the bottom.
Sure.
And all you're going to do is fight about how important the relationship
I
is.
actually love this framing. Like we love frameworks just like you.
Yes, I do.
I actually think this is really interesting because I think recently I experienced a relationship where the other person, this guy, like belovedness was super high on his. Like he was just like super expressive with how much he liked me. He was like really open with like PDA. Like he just wore his heart on his sleeve. And I was very receptive to that. Like I was, it was very positive to experience such a different expression from the other person.
Right.
And it was like more aligned with I think, what's right for me.
I think your natural belovedness is quite high. I think right now it's down lower because you're working out. And our values, though, I think are pretty stable from sort of age 25 on, because a lot of things go into forming our values, and then they all go into a big stew and mix it up. So what goes into forming our values? Our parents, our culture, our society, experience, trauma. And then by age 25, you kind of are who you are. But then a seismic life event can switch our values around. Someone's having a child, going through divorce. I mean, all these different things. But what changes is how much we're living them or not living them. And the goal is to be living them.
Right.
But that's kind of the work of our life, is to work out the conflicts and to live our values fully. But Becoming You, the methodology itself doesn't say, go live your values. It says, figure out your values, then figure out your aptitudes, because you could want to be Celine Dion or whatever and have a very bad voice. And so you have to also know, you can know your values, but then you have to know what you're good at and not. And by that, I mean your cognitive strengths and also your personality strengths, because you could be good at a job because of your personality, and you can be so bad at a job because of your personality. Look, there's 4 things that destroy you living your own life. I call them the 4 Horsemen of Dream Destruction. And they all start with E's. So the first one is expectations, which is around like what your family's expecting and what you expect. Then the second E is expedience, because sometimes it's just easier. They come and they recruit you, or the job's sitting there. It's your next door neighbor's brother, has a job, you can fill it. It's not really perfect for you, but it's easy, and you just do things that are easier. And we go against our values all the time because it's just the path of least resistance. And the world is pretty hard anyway, so we do the easier thing. Then there's events, and events are like you got laid off, so you do something else, and then it's not quite right, but you just stay. And events can push us, getting married, having a baby, there's all sorts of events. And then the final is economic security. And we make all sorts of decisions based on money, even though sometimes money doesn't actually matter to us all that much. I mean, for Gen Z, affluence is not actually all that high. Stability is much higher, much higher. And we have a value for stability. It's called scope. Let's see where you are with scope. That's about, if you have high scope, you want a very big, highly stimulating, you don't really care that much about just stability for stability's sake. Okay, so Jean, you are at 6, meaning it's not a, it's actually pretty close to the top, that you want stimulation, excitement, you want kind of a big life. That's what this would say.
That's right.
And you on scope, it's pretty low for you. There's something about it tracks kind of with your eudaimonia. Low scope and eudaimonia track together in that you have a more comfort with having a life where you have some predictability. Sound right? Yeah.
I think so. I mean, like, I like the occasional, like, oh, this is a new experience.
Right.
But then I'm like, oh, I can come home and go to my gym classes.
Yes,
and,
that's right. That's definitely showing up here. Right. But and we all have a different level of want and need and desire for disruption. And people with very high scope are like, I'll take the chaos because of the fun of it, or the excitement of it, or I have a student who had scope as her number 1 value, and she said, I just want to touch everybody's brain. Okay, and that, I remember saying that. I was like, if I could, you are the poster child for high scope. And she has a life where she's designed everything around that. And luckily her husband has high scope also. Otherwise, I think it'd be quite miserable.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Do you feel seen?
I feel so understood. I feel like with the top 5 and also my bottom 2 that we went through, I'm like, in taking this test, it was very much like I poured my heart into it, answered everything super honestly. And the results like reflect that.
I think it's such good data to have, isn't it? And it allows you to talk to each other. Well, this is my scope value speaking. Well, look, this is, with my high, with my high value of radius, I I mean, it is a way to understand yourself and then understand those around you. It's this language, So
we say that all the time. It's like having the vocabulary to actually express something. That's what's really powerful about Values Bridge, is it gives you the vocabulary to put a name to something that you know in your heart. But you're like, how do I express this? And then now that we have the shared vocabulary, we can actually talk
like the
about
word
it.
eudaimonia. I never knew that word before.
Look, it's very intentional that we named it the bridge. Right? Because when you have a language, you can build a bridge to understanding. I mean, we struggled with the name, but the minute the bridge came to me, I was like, that is the name. And when I was guest lecturing at Stanford last year, a student came up to me afterwards and she said, all of your work reminds me of this Wittgenstein quote. you're at Stanford when somebody comes up and says something like that. She said, reminds me of this Wittgenstein quote, the limits of my language are the limits of my world.
Yes.
And I said, that's exactly right. Is this opens up a world of self-awareness and compassion and conversation, which is the thing I dig about it. So
This episode of Tiger Sisters is brought to you by Read AI.
Yes, and it's not just another note taker. It's like an AI co-pilot that can read, transcribe, and summarize your meeting notes. It reads the energy and vibe of your meetings to give you the next smart steps.
I'm obsessed because it's like having a chief of staff that manages your inbox, your work meetings, basically your entire work life.
Yeah, last week I missed a meeting and I was able to type what did I miss, and Read AI was able to give me the top takeaways, the key points, and also the sentiment. It was kind of like magic. And it works across Gmail, Teams, Notion, Salesforce, Zoom, basically wherever you do your work.
And you know me, I never give apps access to my Gmail because that's super private, but I actually made an exception for Read AI because I personally know the founder, David Shim, because we used to work together at Snapchat. And you guys might remember we actually interviewed David Shim on season 3 of Tiger Sisters when he was talking about his new startup, which is actually Read AI.
And now Read has over 4 million users. Wow. And they're giving Tiger Sisters listeners a 30-day enterprise trial, which is worth $30 and that does not require a credit card to sign up.
We don't know how long this 30-day free offer is going to last, so if you're at all curious, try it right now. Go to www.read.ai/tigersisters for a free 30-day extended trial, and you don't need to put in your credit card.
Sign up through our link because then they'll know that we sent you.
We're obsessed with Read AI, and we think you're going to love it too.
Suzy, thank you so much for going through our values bridges with us. We want to turn the conversation now to you. And we talk about money, power, and love on the Tiger Sisters podcast. Yeah. And we want to go through some of those questions and, go through your brain and learn a little bit more about how you think about these things.
I can't wait.
Great. So in Becoming You, you talked about how the process usually starts with some sort of crisis. Like we talked about maybe a traumatic event, a quarter life crisis or midlife or some kind of reckoning. Why is it that it often takes a big seismic shift for this to happen?
Because we have become so habitualized to living B+ lives or B. We can bump along in a life that's kind of a B or a B+ for a really long time and just keep telling ourselves something's going to change or it has to be that way. Yeah. And we just let it go. I mean, and sometimes we let it go until we're in our 50s or 60s. And then we say, wait a minute, the clock is actually ticking now and I'm going to fix it because B is not good enough. I want to just try it. But other people go all the way to the end that way. And so sometimes we have to be shoved into the kind of self-examination that we need. And so it usually is a crisis where people are fired or go through a divorce or have a breakup of some kind. And they'll say, wait, okay, I can't take it anymore. It's no longer B or B+. It's actually C or C- or D, or it feels like F. And I mean, I kind of troll on Reddit. There's all these feeds where people are like, I hate my life and everything. And I I have to hold myself back from typing in just do Becoming You because they would ban me. But there are people who hit a crisis point and that's when they start the work. And, my loving advice is to do it before that happens and save yourself the time and do it before it really becomes an absolute crisis.
As a Tiger sister, hearing you say a B or B+ life, I'm like, I need to clutch my pearl.
I know. But people do it.
Yeah.
And they do it for a really, really long time and it feels okay. And they make a lot of excuses.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was living a B+ life for a long time.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it because there were so many aspects of it that from the outside looked like an A or an A+ life. Like all of the, just like, you look like you're in a beautiful couple. Like you have this incredibly high-powered job. Like you live in LA. Like there's just so many things that I think I almost let society or societal expectations like dictate and like tell me that I was living an A life or an A+ life. And it wasn't until I'm actually really like grateful now for that sort of like crisis moment. Because it's like you said, it's like not until you like sort of like crash that you're like, wait, why was I on this road in the first place? Like, why was I driving down this road? Like, it would have kind of been like a really underwhelming life that was like not an expression of my true self.
That's right. You would have been around 45 and one day you would have found yourself in your car crying uncontrollably and you would have said, what have I done? And so you do have to kind of crash. Sometimes the outside world is the one confirming to us our life is perfect, and we know inside, and we've got like this kind of and then we hear all this confirming stuff. Oh, you got it all. And it comes from our friends and our parents, and they are just checking the boxes for us. But we know how much we are actually living the life we want. We know because when we're living it, we feel exquisitely alive. And that is so good.
Yeah.
But if you've never experienced it, you don't want to go back and get it because you don't even know what it is to begin with. So a lot of stuff gets in the way of us going big.
Yeah, we had an episode recently where Gina and I talked about settling. Like, how do you know if you're settling?
I saw that episode. It was great. And I thought, wow, this is all about the 4 horsemen of value destruction.
Yes.
If you want to know which one of the horsemen is taking away your life, we actually have a free quiz you can take.
Yeah.
It takes 2 seconds, and it will tell you, oh, it's expectations, it's expedience, or it's all 4. And settling is real.
Yeah.
So, Suzy, on this podcast, we talk a lot about balancing ambition and fulfillment. So, when it comes to money, what do you think people most often get wrong about the connection between wealth and happiness? And like, there's you have so many terms within.
Yeah, I know.
Values Bridge. It's like,
it's a whole industrial complex around this. Okay, so first of all, can I just take issue with the word balance, which I don't actually believe in, because it suggests that you should have the same amount of everything. You should have, work and your personal life should be balanced. But who's deciding what that balance is? That you should have everything should be in balance. Like, I want to work all the time and I want tons of money. Okay, and I don't. And who's to tell me I should be having more fun? Go take a hike. I don't wanna. I don't want to go water skiing this weekend.
this is my fun.
This is, and also that's like balance. So I worry about people believing that there's some kind of perfect for everybody kind of balance. Like you should be doing more of this or doing more of that. It's actually super personal. And Jensen Huang of NVIDIA was asked recently, "How's your work-life balance?" And he said, "I love my work-life balance. I work all the time." And I was like, preach.
Yeah.
Now, I get it that that's not for everybody, and I don't want people to judge me about my work-life balance, just like I don't want to judge anybody. And like, of course, I have 4 adult children. Their view about work and balance is different than mine. And I say, that's perfectly fine. It's groovy. Live your values, live your life, but understand there are consequences. If one of your top values is affluence, it's, and you want to also have a lot of eudaimonia, you're going to have to figure that out because they don't typically track together unless you have inherited wealth. I think that the thing you've got to figure out is not how to have balance, but you've got to figure out what is your balance.
Yeah.
How much do you want of each one of these? This is why I like the rank ordering, because sometimes people say, yep, that's it. I can't lie anymore. I want luminance. I want fame. I want money. I want achievement. And look, all the way down here is eudaimonia. I've been lying about this to everybody. And I want the permission to say to people, I'm not playing with you this weekend. I'm going into work because I like it.
Yeah.
And we got to give ourselves permission to have the balance we want to have, our definition of it.
I just had a light bulb moment now.
Good.
That, let me see if I can process this live. But I think it has to do with my belonging being literally my last value. Like when I'm like scrolling on Instagram and I see people's stories of like, oh my God, they had this bachelorette with like 20 women there. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like, wonder what that must be like to be like surrounded and have that community and it's gorgeous and there's these photos. And then like for a second I feel like bad because I'm comparing myself to that person. But if we go back to my values bridge, I'm like, I don't really care for that. That's not how I want to live my life.
Before social media, you wouldn't even seen those pictures, so you wouldn't have cared.
Right.
I mean, I think it's social media puts it in your face, but belonging is not a high value of yours. It doesn't mean that you don't want some of it, but you want it a lot less than some other things. Like radius is your top value. You would trade off clearly having high impact work with hanging out with a bunch of bridesmaids. Okay, so my daughter has number 1 radius. She's a total person who wants to change the world in a lot of different ways. She's about to get married. No bridesmaids. Okay, let alone no bridesmaids parties. No bridesmaids.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's not who they are. And her husband, her soon-to-be husband, also has a high radius. It's the most. This is a wedding that's actually about their value of radius. I mean, it's about, and everybody there is going to be like them. It's going to be quite the event. That there's no partying beforehand. There's no bachelor party. Are you kidding me? That they find that very, that's just not who they are.
Yeah.
Right. So
It's not who I am actually, and I don't know why. I mean, like,
because there's societal culture to say
Societal
it is.
pressure.
But now you can just hold up your values-based results and say, any other low-belonging people here like me?
Yeah.
So, okay.
So our next question on money is, if you could sit down with your younger self, what's one piece of money advice you wish you had known earlier?
There's two great pieces of money advice that I would love to share. The first is there's no last best deal. This has saved me from so many stupid purchases, so many stupid decisions. The whole idea of the person who's trying to get you to buy something is to get you into a frenzy where you think it's the last best deal. I mean, that's what advertising does. That's what realtors do. That's what all sorts of people do. And you have to sort of say, nope, there actually is no last best deal. There's always going to be another deal. And if you're a person who's interested in investing, the whole idea that people trying to sell you the stock or whatever it is that you're investing in is to make you feel like it's the last best deal. And so this refrain, there's no last best deal, has saved me so many wrong turns, especially around real estate, right? Yeah. There's never going to be a better house than this. It's never going to be at this cost. And you know what? There is. There's going to be another house and there's going to be another good deal. So that's very, very centering. The second one piece of advice, I think I learned it from watching people around me, and people now tell me it's one of the most distinctive characteristics about how I think about money is to fight back against the sunk cost fallacy and just to cut your losses. I made a mistake. I made a financial mistake. Get out now. And so this has happened with real estate. I one time bought a house. I thought it was the right house, and I was there for 2 years. I thought this is in the wrong place, and the house doesn't feel right to me for a bunch of different reasons. I had fixed it up and poured some real money into it. And I remember calling my friend saying, I'm selling this house. They'd all visited it. And they were like, how can you do that? And I said, because I made a mistake. I'm out.
Yeah.
And I may take a hit, but there's no point pouring more money into this pit. And so I think sunk cost goes across so many different financial decisions. And it goes into sort of job decisions as well. And so cutting your losses and the ability to openly say, I made a mistake, I own it. Hello, world, I made a mistake, I own it, and then move on. I think with my children, I've taught them that. And when I see them make wise decisions, financial decisions, I think, okay, that's one thing I taught them.
Yeah.
That second one is so powerful. And I think it's a lot harder than what you give yourself credit for, because
we are wired.
Yes.
I mean, this is what the work of decision scientists would show you. We are wired to have sunk cost and love for just pouring more money on our problems, thinking we're saving face, we can fix it. It is so common that to fight it is a discipline. But it's true about relationships too.
Yeah. And it feels like, in a way, like you're going against yourself because you had made this decision. You had done so many things following that decision to reinforce that was the right decision.
Totally.
So then, like, changing and doing the opposite of that or reversing it, you're like, who am I? It's like almost like you have to.
But it's
a
such
lot
a
of internal
badass
work.
thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's like to really own your mistake and publicly say to everybody, look, I made this mistake. I took the wrong job. I moved to the wrong city. I invested in this wrong thing. I'm getting out. I'm getting out now, and I'm going to take my hit, and I'm going to move right on with the lesson learned is so empowering. And the earlier you learn to do that, the better. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think when people see that, they respect you more for it, not less.
And you actually sort of get this incredible kind of rush off of it yourself, saying like, I did that, because you realize how hard it is. Yeah. Look, it's all part of the wisdom project. That's what I say about mistakes.
I
just
love
gathering
that.
wisdom
I like
here.
that.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm gonna adopt that. I'm gonna start.
It's great.
Part of the wisdom.
All part of the wisdom
Part
project.
of the wisdom
right? No,
project
covers up all your mistakes. I mean, and they are. That is how I've gotten my wisdom, not from what I did right, what I did wrong, of which there's a long list.
And then, okay, last note about this. I feel like that there's no last best deal. I feel like that actually can also be applied to love and romance.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Because when you think might be the last guy or girl, you settle. Okay. And then you say, look, nobody else is coming along. I was friends with a woman. She was in a relationship for a really long time. She was 55 and he was terrible to her. He was terrible to her. And I said to her, why are you staying? And she said, who else is there going to be? And she said, he's going to be the best guy I can get. And it was disaster to see the relationship. Well, I would go home to my husband and say, one day he's going to leave her for a younger woman and, she should have cut her losses and so forth. And that is exactly what happened. And she actually now has happily found somebody else. And so it all worked out. It took a while. But we do this in relationships all the time. We say, look, I'm just not meeting that many other people. This is the last best deal. If you're settling, as you have said before in the podcast, that never leads anywhere. It never leads anywhere good. It just does not.
There's no last best deal.
There's no
last best deal. I'm going to be repeating this.
It's great.
to
We need
myself.
T-shirts, right?
It should be our mantra in the morning. We like wake up and look in the mirror.
Yeah.
There's no last
There's
best
no
deal.
last best deal.
To ourselves.
I love that. I love it.
Should we jump into love?
Yeah, let's jump into love.
Okay. You can ask me about love. Okay, I know that it's
Yeah.
a sensitive topic, but you can go ahead and ask me about it. Don't be afraid. If you talk
Okay.
about money, power, and love, don't be afraid to ask me about it. It's okay.
So, Suzy, you and your late husband, Jack, both had such storied careers in the professional realm. I'm sure you get this, this question a lot. And this was long before you got married. So how did you balance being partners in life while also collaborating on work on such a high level?
Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really intense because we lived together, loved together, raised the children together, and worked together. And the way we did it was we had very similar values. We talked constantly. You've never met two more chatty people than us. I mean, it was we were both very verbal. And so we could be talking about things all the time. But we also knew our lanes. And this was huge. Like, I was never CEO of GE. I never managed 400,000 people. And he had never written book after book after book. He had never edited. He had never done a lot of the stuff that I knew how to do. And we agreed that we deeply respected each other's areas of expertise, and we let each other be good at what they were good at. And we believed that we would really learn from each other. And he had I think what really helped was he had the deepest respect for me. He used to say to me all the time, "You're the smartest person I've ever met." And I'd be like, "That cannot possibly be true, Jack." And so he respected me, and I really respected him, and that helped a lot. But, I think that at the end of the day, he had very high agency as a value. He was used to being a CEO. He drove every bus. He was in charge. And I have very low agency. I'm super collaborative. I am always kind of like, I think every idea should be heard. I love consensus. This is all kind of part of my personality. And I think it was very fortunate that he had high agency and I had low. I think in our marriage, had both of us been very high agency, there would have been a slightly different story. And I had this technique when we disagreed, which is often shocking to other women when I mention it, but I did it for a really long time. And then one time I mentioned it in passing, and it freaked out the group of women I was with.
So juicy.
Okay, so when he started saying something that I really disagreed with, inside my head, my mantra was, maybe he's right. And I didn't get my dukes up, and I didn't start to disagree. I just thought, maybe he's right. I'm just going to hear him out with the assumption he might be right. And so sometimes he'd come at me with really we're not going to X, Y, and Z vacation. I've changed my mind. We're taking the kids to blank. And my immediate visceral reaction would be something like, that's the worst idea I ever heard. It's wrong on so many levels. And then I would immediately transfer into, maybe he's right. And I would say, why do you say that? And I would have this very open mind about it. And then he would pour it all out, and I would hear him. And sometimes he was right. But other times, because I had a really good attitude, non-defensive attitude about it, I would say, okay, well, here's where we differ. And I would go through the ways that we differed. And a lot of times he would say, oh God, I never thought of that, Suzy. All right. But it was my lack of defensiveness that allowed those conversations to happen. And I think it feels like, to use a word that sets people's heads on fire, it sounds kind of surrendered, right? Like the surrendered wives are always like, whatever you say, dear, is right. But I just went in with the supposition that he loved me. I trusted him. He wanted what was right for us in the marriage, and he'd never hurt me, and that maybe he was right. And it's not like we didn't disagree, but when he came at me, I always started from a stance that I wanted to hear what he was saying.
Wow. When I hear that, two things come to mind. One is the immense amount of self-regulation, because the way that you described it, it's just of course, everyone's first instinct is to be like, what are you talking about?
Well, also coming from a person where I feel like the three of us are often right, and we don't posit our opinions that are not well researched,
right? We're not impulsive people,
exactly.
Right.
So the self-regulation
to have that immediate thought, and then to stop yourself, and then to bring a new perspective. And then I think the second thing is assuming good intent.
Yes,
I think that's so so deep and
it's huge. It's actually just as a life lesson,
Yeah.
changes everything. And I think I learned that a lot from Jack. He was really that way. Jack that cliche, a stranger's a friend you just haven't met. He totally thought the whole world was just waiting to be his friend. He went out into the world every day, like, where are all the friends I can meet? And I remember going to a party one time where we didn't know anyone, and he said, could anything be more exciting? And this was so his personality. And I agree. I like meeting people too. But assuming good intentions can change the trajectory of your life and your career. It can. And sometimes you get burned. Sometimes people don't have good intentions. But many, many more times, you end up having relationships and conversations that you wouldn't have had if you went in with your dukes up.
So, okay, Suzy, you recently said on your podcast that you are ready to go on and write the next part of your story.
Yeah.
Do you remember saying that?
Yeah.
We're going to dive right in.
Okay, go for it.
Do you remember the next thing you said?
I said I might go on a date.
Yeah.
I did it.
Oh my God.
You went on a date?
Can we
I did.
talk about
I
it?
did.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
Just
I think,
diving right
here's
in.
the terrible truth, right?
Okay,
Is the
tell
date
us.
reminded me about how much I love my husband. So it was
is that terrible?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's terrible. Okay. Like nothing to recommend widowhood, okay? But I would say that I had a couple of days afterwards where I was sad because he was a perfectly good guy, a very nice guy. And actually we had some things in common, really some things really in common. Like we both like every single day, like get the same feed from this like devotional, and we both read that one. And so we had some serious things in common. And it was a perfectly lovely conversation, but sort of 2 hours into it, he said to me, I do not think you're ready. And I said, yeah. And he said, I just don't think you're at a place in your life where you're ready for this. Are you ready? He said, are you ready to be loved by a man besides Jack? And I thought,
God.
how astute. I thought he's really smart. And I said, I actually don't know the answer to that question. He said, well, why don't you give it some thought?
Wait, were you already friends?
No, but we knew people in common.
Okay.
But he knew enough in those 2 hours because I actually realized that I referenced Jack like 30 times on the date. And so it's kind of different when you've not been divorced, right? Because sometimes when you've been divorced, you're ready to start again and you're like turning the page. But for me, like I lost the person I loved.
Yeah.
So I did it. I did go on a date, and I mean, I'm not adverse to another one, not with that person because he's right, but I have this kind of this desire at my daughter's wedding to dance with somebody besides like my son, which is really I was at a wedding with him and Eva the other day, and like I know they don't want me dancing with them. They want to dance with each other. Like who wants mom in the group, right? And then I was at another wedding, and I was there with my a daughter and her husband, and they said, let's dance. And I said, I don't want to do that to you. So I would kind of like to dance so it's not like I want to get married again, but it would be fun to have somebody to dance with.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I love dancing.
Yeah, and so do I.
Yeah, it's
really,
fun.
I
You
miss
want
that a
the,
lot.
like-
No, I know Jack and
you
I used to
want the
dance all the
thrill.
time.
Yeah.
I know.
You want the like
It was fun.
juicy
Life.
feeling.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah. That I miss.
Well, I mean, you did the brave thing.
It felt brave. In fact, the morning of, I tried to cancel. Yeah, but I called the friend who did the fix up, and I said, I think I got, and she said, nope, you can't do that. Not going to do that for you. And so I did it. As I was walking toward it and I saw him on the sidewalk, I was literally inside my head, I was saying like, turn around, leave, run. I mean, it felt really brave. I kind of hated it. But then the minute we said hello, I was like, I can have a conversation with anybody.
Yes.
I'm just going to do it.
You sure can.
Right. I didn't give him the values bridge. I did not. But I was doing it in my head. So I'm not adverse to it. It's not like I feel like, okay, never again. I'm never going to do that again because hope springs eternal. But it's hard, right? Because I had a great marriage. I had a great marriage.
Yeah.
And so it's like a very hard act to follow.
Well, I hope you're proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Truly.
It's kind of like you were saying before, it's gathering wisdom.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that. Maybe I'll say I'm a little proud of myself. I mean, people have been. It's been 6 years, right?
Yeah.
So people have been pushing me towards this. I mean, I have a girlfriend who was widowed recently, and like 6 months later, she went on her first date, and I was like, "How you doing that?" And she said, "You got to get out there, Suzy." And I was like, "You do?" I mean, but
I mean, you're kind of building an empire now too. So you have all these different, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm building a business, okay? And I love building a business. I've always loved business so much, and Becoming You has kind of taken off in a way that is like, it started with me teaching this class, and next thing I know, there's like, people doing it all around the world, and since the Values Bridge came out, May 6th, was released, about 66,000 people have taken it. That's the beginning of a business, wouldn't you say, right?
Yeah.
And so, and we've got other great products that are coming down the pike. And so I'm building something. Building is fun.
Yeah.
And talk about radius.
Yeah,
That's
right. Oh, absolutely.
so many people whose lives
I
lives
get
you're touching.
emails and DMs every single day from people who say, it changed my life this way, it fixed my life this way, it did this for my son or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yes.
I'm addicted.
I
know?
was just gonna say that we get those too, and
Yes.
it's an addicting feeling.
It is.
Like it puts
It
you
is.
in a flow.
It's like a
state.
drug.
You're
It
like,
is.
I can't
Absolutely.
stop doing this.
Right.
Like, look, all these people
Right.
are, I don't know, like relying on me sort of.
That's
And like,
right.
there's all these
Touched by
other
what we're
people in the
doing.
world that haven't been exposed to what we do, and we can help them.
Yes, it's unreal.
Yeah.
It's the feeling of it. And when my kids say to me, you've got to take a day off, you've got to take a break, I say, I'm building something.
Yeah.
I'm building, and
And
you
it's
get
important.
that or you don't. I mean,
it's
yeah,
important.
right. Yeah.
It matters.
It matters. I
Yes.
think it does.
Yeah. But I mean, this is like one of the many reasons why I really admire you. And I almost feel like, I don't know, I feel like we're kindred spirits in some ways because there's just so many ways that you've reinvented yourself and you've done so many new things like throughout your whole life, like getting your PhD
Yes.
Yes.
in your 60s.
Yes,
That's
crazy.
incredible.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I don't understand it. Well, first of all, reinvention sort of comes with the territory because the economy changes and the world changes and you change. And so, I mean, when I started working as a journalist, we were typing on like standard, manual typewriters, and you have to keep on reinventing yourself or you're just going to be passed by. And because I have the values of achievement and scope, I didn't want that to happen to me. So I kept on, and also I just have a natural kind of personality. I'm an early adopter of technology. Like I was like one of the first people who bought a BlackBerry back when there were BlackBerries. I was like, this is so cool. Like, and I have that part of me. And I think there's weirdly a kind of fearlessness about how I approach the world. But I think that has actually increased a lot since Jack died, because when the worst thing in the world has happened to you, like what can scare you anymore?
Yes.
And one thing that really helped me was when I was fired in my 40s from the Harvard Business Review. And it was like a little bit of it felt like a public death. I'd never been fired from anything in my life. Then I was fired and it was reported in the Wall Street Journal. And then I didn't die. And people kind of came around and said, yeah, everybody gets fired. And like, you'll get over it. And then like 2 weeks later, Oprah's organization called me and said, how'd you like to come work here? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I kind of dig that a lot. And you realize that you could just die 1,000 times in your career and it's on you. You can just be reborn, and just to sort of say, yeah, but you got to have the ability to say, yeah, I got fired. I'm not going to try to. I didn't get laid off. I didn't like. And in fact, when I got fired, they said they were going to put out a press release that said that I resigned. And I said, don't do that. You're firing me. I want the truth. I'm going to tell the truth, and so should you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hope if there's anything that I've given other people the courage to say, look, it didn't work out. And I got fired, and then I moved on. I love it when people are candid that way. So, some of my reinvention was quite forced because I had no other choice. But I could have just opted out, and I just opted in. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Oh my God, you're so wise. I'm just
absorbing everything.
Like you're so like filling my cup.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I'm so
I love being with you. I'm
I'm
so excited for
happy.
your futures, and you are just the fact that you're doing this is beautiful. It's fantastic.
Thanks so much, Suzy. And so
Thank you.
for our audience listening, what is the best way they can connect or find your content, your book?
Oh, hold me. All right. So, I mean, there's Suzy Welch altogether is my Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. And my podcast is called Becoming You. You can find it on all the platforms. And the book is everywhere books are sold. And the Values Bridge is at thevaluesbridge.com.
Incredible.
It's Suzy with a Z.
Yeah, Suzy.
Amazing. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
I loved being
Thank
here.
you so much.
If you ever come to New York, you've got to come be on my podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, we'd have so much fun.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm game.
Yay!